Good evening. It is 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 6, 2021, and this is the regular meeting of the Sandpoint City Council. I now call to order in the council chambers at City Hall, 1123 Lake Street in Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, I'm Mayor Shelby Ronstadt presiding, and also present are Councilors Shannon Sherman, Deb Rule, Joel Aspiro, John Darling, Kate McAllister, and Andy Grote. We'll now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I invite Mr. Newberry, who's here from the Girl Scouts chapter in Spokane with the Girl Scouts before us, and they're going to lead us in the national anthem today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just real quickly just want to say next Monday is the Day of the Girl, that we celebrate girls. And as an Air Force veteran who served time in Afghanistan, I think we all appreciate how it is important to have rights for our women and our girls these days. These are some incredible girls, #2 cookie sellers in America. So I am on, I know. And Mayor and council folks, I'm going to leave cookies for you all because that's what Girl Scouts do. So you all are in luck tonight, but I'm honored to introduce a brownie and a junior from 571, and then these daisies from 2132. So girls, take it away. Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America and God bless Sandpoint. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Newberry. Appreciate that. Thank you, girls. That was really, really nice. Okay, we have some announcements this evening. First, we'll start with employee recognition. Human Resources Director Nicole Gose will present some certificates for staff. Thank you, Nicole.
Mayor. Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
All right. So cities like to take this opportunity to recognize several employees who have successfully obtained a job-related certification or license or completed job-related training programs in the last quarter. We are proud to have such dedicated and hardworking employees, and we regularly receive many compliments and words of praise for our employees from our citizens. We appreciate the effort and the time they have put into their professional development. One of our adopted strategic priorities has been investment in and support for further development of our employees throughout the city. They have each displayed great enthusiasm to learn and grow professionally. To show our appreciation for their hard work and conduct, we would like to present each of them with a certificate of recognition for their accomplishments. We will be making our presentation by division, and if they would like, the division head may join me in recognizing their staff and accept certificates on behalf of those who are unable to attend. I think we have one employee in attendance. First, we have one employee in our fire division, Solon Janae Wolf, being recognized today for his completion. Let me grab his certificate. Solon is being recognized today for his completion of 14 hours of peer support training presented by IIIA and Shift Wellness. Shift is an acronym that stands for Supporting Heroes in Mental Health Foundations Training. Shift Wellness focuses on first responder needs and offers psychoeducational programs that are crucial to helping exposed individuals learn how to recognize and cope with problems before they become severe or permanent. Thank you, Solon.
Thank you.
And next, we have several employees in the IDS division receiving recognition today. In the Planning and Services group, we have Sarah Gilmore, who passed the International Code Council exam to become a certified permit technician. Okay, Amanda will accept this on her behalf. And stay up here because you got a couple more. So there is Sarah's. In the wastewater treatment group, we have Devin Hole, who passed an exam from the Idaho Board of Drinking Water and Wastewater Professionals to obtain his wastewater collection operator Class 2 license. And next, we also have Ben Gregory, who passed the exam to obtain his wastewater treatment plant operator Class 2 license, which also resulted in a progressive promotion to operator 2. Thank you, Amanda. That's all here. And finally, we have 2 employees in our police division being recognized today. Just making sure they're not here. First is Skylar Ziegler, who fulfilled the requirements for the supervisor certification as set forth by the Idaho Peace Officer Standards and Training Council. This too resulted in a progressive promotion to Sergeant 3. And next, last but not least, is Angela Tennyson, who completed 48 hours of training to earn the Equine Investigations Academy Level 1 certification, bringing her one step closer to becoming a master animal cruelty investigator. So congratulations and a round of applause.
Thank you, Nicole. Appreciate that. And thank you to all those staff members for your certifications and putting in the extra time and effort to improve yourselves and your professional expertise and your service to the city. Thank you very much. Any other announcements from staff?
Just one brief announcement, Mr. Mayor, and then I don't want to take Maeve's thunder later in the agenda. We do have another one of our Parks and Sidewalk workshops for the public tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. on the downtown waterfront. So we'll be at Gunnings Valley, Farman's Landing, downtown, talking about the downtown waterfront concept. So we hope members of the public will come with their questions, and it'll be a great conversation.
Great. All right. Thank you. Any announcements from council? Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, just a small, brief update on COVID again. Although the nation seems to be in another decline, and also I read just yesterday that hospitalizations in the entire state of Idaho are down. Unfortunately, our area is not down. As of today, Kootenai had 150 inpatients with COVID-19, and 43 of those require critical care. And they are now listing pediatric patients separately. They currently have 2 pediatric patients in the intensive care unit. As of yesterday, just to make a comparison, they only had 145 patients, 42 in critical care and 4 pediatric patients. So in my heart, I very much hope that those 2 pediatric patients were able to go home with their family and not the worst case scenario happened. So thank you for your time listening. Please be careful.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other announcements from council? Okay. I would like to share an update on the task force, and I had a request from council, and it's been my intention to update the council as we make progress with the Sandpoint Workforce Housing Task Force. We just had our second meeting last Tuesday, and so I'd like to spend a few minutes, and I do want to keep this fairly brief because we have a full agenda tonight, but I would like to share that with the council and public present here today. So, of course, in response to the update there we go. In response to the challenge in access to housing, both in terms of affordability and in terms of availability that we've experienced here, particularly in the last year, it's been shocking, I know, to many of us, and it's really been the talk of the town for many months now. In response to that, I wanted to do what I could to try to address this problem. And so in August of this year, I formed a task force, and the task force is comprised, it's kind of a growing list. There's quite a few people on there now. It's pushing over 25 people on the task force now, but my intention was to get, really try to motivate the business community to be part of the solution here. I know that employers are, in my view, they kind of have the most to gain and the most to lose in this problem, because it's their workers that of course they rely on for their success. And if we can't house our workforce, then we're not going to be in business. So I think there's been a real shift in this last year, or maybe even the last 2 years, where there's been much more of a motivation really throughout the community to try to address this problem. So I really made a point of reaching out to the employers in our area, but at the same time, really trying to engage the development community itself, planners, nonprofits, local government, including we have a Bonner County Commissioner on there, regional mayors. I really tried to get as broad of a group as we could get that really represented our community and the broad range of business interests that we have here, but also people that could really bring expertise and knowledge and experience to the task force. And the purpose of the task force, really structurally, it's an advisory body to the mayor. This group is helping me to identify and vet different solutions that have been tried with varying degrees of success around the country and other places. So we're looking at what has been tried and true in other places and trying that on to see if that could fit here in Sandpoint. And of course, the ultimate goal here is to improve access to housing for our local workforce. And when we talk about the local workforce and who is that and what does that mean, we really had consensus among the group that we really want to be as non-exclusive here or inexclusive as possible. So we really want to try to improve housing access for everyone who's gainfully employed or aspiring to be in our community. So whether they're making minimum wage at in the service industry or close to minimum wage, or whether they're making well over the median wage, but they still can't find access to housing, we need to work to solve this problem for our whole community. And we do that through facilitating partnerships between those business entities, between local government and between the industry itself. Through this process, we can identify solutions and methods, and a big chunk of the work comes in the form of policy recommendations, which will ultimately be brought forth before to me, then presented through the Planning and Zoning Commission for consideration, and ultimately through this body as it's appropriate. And as I'm sure many of you know, or some of you know for sure, that planning and zoning is really probably the superpower that local government has to influence the built environment. And through planning and zoning, through the city's comprehensive land use plan, the community can cast the vision for what we want to see in terms of a long-term growth and development of our community. And then we can set that target, and then our zoning codes will reflect that vision and try to guide us in that direction. So I think that there's recommendations that could come out of this group as well, recommendations that could come before planning and zoning, and hopefully influence the comprehensive land use plan, which will be continuing under revision later in early 2022. So I think the timing is perfect there. And then there will be an opportunity, of course, to have some really meaty recommendations for the zoning code going forward. And I do want to just address that really, when we're looking at geographical scope here with the task force, obviously, I serve the city of Sandpoint. We all serve the jurisdictional boundary of the city of Sandpoint. But we can't really look at ourselves isolated from the region and from the state and from the rest of the country, for that matter. And this is a problem that's much bigger than us, and it certainly affects our neighbors here in North Idaho. So we're really trying to look at this collectively as a group and recognize that any choices, any decisions that we make, or policy changes that we make here in Sandpoint is going to have an impact in Pend Oreille or Bonner County. So we're really trying to approach this collaboratively and comprehensively. So as a baseline, in 2019, the city of Sandpoint conducted a housing study. I listed it housing survey here. There's a typo. It was a housing a housing assessment, excuse me. And in that, it was a really good analysis of kind of, where we're at today in terms of, what all of the market, what the demographics are in Sandpoint in the region, and what the market conditions are. And at the end of that, there was some really good recommendations, some suggestions, many of them policy related around planning and zoning, as I discussed. But there were many other kinds of recommendations that came forward that could be initiated either by private entities, by the industry itself, through public-private partnerships, and a variety of other kinds of solutions. So the task force will be looking through all of these different solutions and essentially vetting them to see to what extent they could be applied and successful here in Sandpoint. And of course, the way that we're going to pull together and work through here is again through building partnerships and recognizing that we really need each other to begin to solve this problem. This is not it's certainly not a one size fits all, and it's not something that we can really tackle individually and in an isolated fashion. So again, I think, the bulk of the solutions that we're going to see coming forward ultimately will come in the forms of recommendations to the comp plan and particularly to land use regulation. But there's still a lot of other solutions that can be explored as well, both through private industry, and partnerships among businesses and in collaboration with local government. So upon initiating the task force, leading up to the creation of the task force, I sent out a needs assessment survey to local businesses. That survey went out, we called it the Sandpoint Workforce Housing Needs Assessment. And it was really to supplement there was a lot of different data that came out of that, but it was supplemental to the housing study of 2019, housing assessment, excuse me. And again, it was really focused exclusively on it was focused on the perspective of our employers. And I thought that was an important strategic move because, again, I really thought it was vital to include them as being part of the solution here. We had a pretty good response rate from that. We sent it to every business license holder in the city, as well as all of the members of the Bonner County Economic Development Corporation, which includes a lot of businesses in the county. And we got 127 responses, which represented over 10% of the workforce in the area. And worth note, about 14% of those employees were part-time. So it was good representation and gave us kind of a baseline of data and from the employer's perspective. And I think the results of that, aren't going to be shocking to anyone here, but it's worth noting. 88% of those responding, or I should say this represented 88% of the workforce responding, agreed that the ability to purchase a home by their workforce was impacted. 90% said that the ability to rent was impacted. 80% said it was a significant to serious problem for retaining or attracting workforce. 75% said it impacted the employees' ability to fill vacant positions. And I think maybe most noteworthy, 25% of the workforce has either left or not been recruited due to housing. So we literally have 25% underemployment, according to the sample that's over 10% of our workforce. So we've kind of broken it up into short-term and long-term solutions. And right now we're still, we're addressing both in parallel. Right now we're looking at short-term solutions that we can initiate in the coming months to begin to try to curb as best we can the problem. And then, we're still in the exploratory phase here. The longer term solutions, which are much more plentiful, and there's a lot more great choices, I should say, in terms of examples that have been done successfully elsewhere in the country. There's a lot of examples of that. Unfortunately, those are all rather time consuming. They take time. It's a process. It's a public process. When we amend or change the comprehensive land use plan, it requires a significant public engagement. The same is true even if to make a simple amendment on a zoning code. It requires a public, often a public workshop and a public process, public hearings through the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then often and then through the council as well. So these are processes that take time, and of course they take significant staff time and effort as well to have to set aside other priorities to be able to focus on this, develop appropriate code, have it vetted and refined before presenting it to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So all of these really take all of the longer term solutions that are largely designed around land use changes. They take time, and there are other kinds of institutional changes that can happen. Urban renewal can be a really powerful tool, and it's been mentioned up here on this dais previously when we were talking about the considering the 1% local option tax and applying those funds, some of that money potentially for workforce housing needs. There are other tools out there that can be instituted structurally, institutionally, but all of these take time and political will and commitment from the community. So we're certainly committed to continuing down this path and finding those solutions and bringing them before the appropriate bodies for consideration. But it's those are the longer mid-range to longer range solutions that we'll be exploring. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm happy to open it up to questions. If council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them if I can.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Not really a question, just more of a statement. Obviously, it's election season. You got 7 people running for city council. Newspapers are asking, what are you going to do about the workforce housing? What are you going to do about the market, et cetera? Very valid questions and completely understand, but appreciate you doing this tonight, Mr. Mayor, to show the public and those who maybe not understand how politics works. It's not always quick. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes government. It takes citizens to get together to figure this out. And it's not a quick fix. So I appreciate you doing this tonight to show that with the next upcoming forum with council members, people running for re-election, that things take time. So it's going to be a hot topic. And I really think that you put a lot of things to rest in that presentation. So thank you.
I appreciate that, Councilman. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, moving on. So
Actually,
next,
Mr. Mayor?
yeah,
I'm sorry, a little bit of a delayed thought process there. Are these meetings in any way recorded that the public would have access to listen in to just some of the discussions and ideas that come up for those people that are interested, or are they sort of non-public at this point?
yeah, they started out non-public, but they have been recorded. So at some point, I wasn't sure how this was going to go, and I wasn't sure to what extent there could be sensitive information, because we have employers who are, talking about maybe their long-range plans or their vulnerabilities in terms of employment and other things. And I wanted everyone to feel comfortable being open and honest in the forum and not feel like they're under a microscope. So I think at this point, we've only had 2 meetings. I still think it's important to sort of give it that level of protection. They are being recorded, and and I'll just be honest, I haven't heard anything that I would consider sensitive that has come out in these, but it really, I just, again, I'm trying to protect our sources and ensure that we get good participation. So my anticipation is, and I really appreciate the question, because this is something that I have mulled over. And I think where I'm at this point is I will introduce this idea to the group next time we meet, which will be in the next several weeks. And I will ask that the body how they feel about making all of the recordings public. And so they'll be available through our YouTube channel.
Okay. And my second question would be, how frequently are the meetings occurring? And is there any way, I know people have busy schedules, but it seems like there's such a pressing need from the community. Is there a willingness to, in this case, when it's just discussions, try to progress maybe slightly faster than we normally would at the slow governmental pace?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I think right now the pace that we're at, which is essentially a monthly meeting, is appropriate because there's a lot going on between those meetings as well. So there's other conversations that are happening. There's preparation, there's research. People are communicating and developing their ideas and their understanding. So I think that this is the pace that's appropriate for right now. If that changes, I will certainly let you know.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. So not to hog the mic here tonight, but I have a proclamation to read. October is Safe Infant Sleep Awareness Month in Sandpoint. This proclamation was requested by Liz Montgomery, Executive Director of Northwest Infant Survival and SIDS Alliance. It's my understanding that Liz is here with us tonight to accept this proclamation. Yes, she is. Thank you for joining us, Liz. So without further ado, whereas sudden unexpected infant deaths is the sudden and unexpected death of an infant birth to age 1, in which the manner and cause of death are not immediately obvious prior to the investigation. Whereas sudden infant death syndrome is a subset of SUID and remains the #1 cause of infant deaths between the ages of 28 days of life to 1 year. Whereas the tragedy of SUID can happen to any family, regardless of race, ethnicity, economic group. Whereas evidence-based research has proven that when babies are placed in a crib alone, in the parent's room, on their backs, on a firm crib mattress with a fitted crib sheet, using no crib bumper pads, pillows, blankets, quilts, or stuffed animals and toys, in a smoke-free environment, they will sleep safest and reduce the risk of SIDS and prevent many other infant sleep-related deaths. Whereas Northwest Infant Survival and SIDS Alliance is a statewide not-for-profit organization dedicated to providing infant safe sleep education, bereavement support services, and creating community awareness around preventing sleep-related infant deaths. And whereas during the month of October, Northwest Infant Survival SIDS Alliance will hold special events, including Run for the Angels on Sunday, October 3rd, distribute safe infant sleep educational pamphlets, cribs, and wearable blankets to families in need, therefore providing the best opportunity for all babies in Sandpoint to survive and thrive. Therefore, I, Shelby Ronstadt, Mayor of the City of Sandpoint, Idaho, hereby proclaim October 2021 as Safe Infant Sleep Awareness Month in Sandpoint, in order to raise awareness about preventing sleep-related infant deaths and to encourage infant safe sleep practices so that no parent will have to endure the tragedy of the death of a baby. Liz, would you like to come forward and claim this? Sure, absolutely.
Good evening. Sudden unexpected infant death kills more children in the US than opioids, guns, and suicide combined. Last year, 3,500 babies died from sudden unexpected infant death in the US. SUID is the #1 cause of death of our infants age 1 month to 12 months of age. 90% of these deaths were preventable, and over 50% of these deaths happened while sharing a sleep service with an adult. According to Idaho State Vital Statistics, Health District 1, which includes Bonner County, has the highest SUID rate in this entire state. For every 100,000 infants born in Health District 1, 107 will die a sudden unexpected infant death, compared to 74 infants per 100,000 live births in the state. In 2020, Bonner County experienced an alarming increase in SUA deaths. Our partners, Bonner County Coroner and Bonner General Hospital, have implemented safe sleep education, training for all staff at Bonner General, and we have provided that training at no cost, along with new portable cribs and sleep sacks for families. I'm Liz Montgomery, Executive Director of Northwest Infant Survival and SIDS Alliance, and it's an honor to be here tonight, along with my mother, Barbara Montgomery, and my brother, John C. Montgomery, both residents of Sandpoint, Denia Bankson with Bonner Clinical Supervisor with Bonner General Hospital, and my friend, Bonner County Coroner, Robert Beers, to witness the reading and signing of the proclamation tonight. It's our hope to bring awareness to sudden infant death and the immediate need and vital need for safe sleep education for anyone caring for an infant in the city of Sandpoint. This is the only nonprofit serving Sandpoint that provides awareness, safe infant sleep education, and bereavement support for families. We pride ourselves in spearheading this proclamation in hopes to eliminate preventable sleep-related deaths in our community and to bring awareness to the need for bereavement support to those affected by a pregnancy, infant, or a child loss. Not only am I the director of NISA, I'm a mother of 2 children, my daughter Holly, who's 26, and my son Mason, who will always be 5.5 months old. My son Mason died 19 years ago due to an unsafe sleep accident while at the babysitter's house. He was asleep on a couch, covered with a heavy blanket, and rolled into the back of the couch and suffocated. Although his death was labeled SIDS at the time, which was the common term, we now know his death was completely preventable due to suffocation. I've dedicated my life to ensuring other families do not have to endure this heart-wrenching experience. So on behalf of myself, my family, our local partners, and the families we serve, thank you, Mayor, thank you, City Council, for taking the time for us tonight and for proclaiming October Safe Sleep Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Ms. Montgomery, I really appreciate those heartfelt, passionate words, and it's always an inspiration to see somebody who takes hardship, personal hardship that they've experienced in their life and is able to transform that into an act of love and community service year after year. So you're an inspiration. Thank you. We will now proceed with the public forum portion of the meeting, which gives the public the opportunity to address myself and the council regarding items listed on the consent calendar or on any item that's not on the agenda. This is not the time to speak on specific items listed on the agenda. If you'd like to speak on such an item, please wait until that item is announced during the regular meeting. To accommodate both those who wish to speak on general items during the public forum, as well as those who wish to speak on specific business items on our agenda, a total of 20 minutes will be dedicated to the public forum at the beginning of the meeting. If you'd like to speak and did not have an opportunity to do so, we'll give everyone an opportunity to speak by reopening the public forum at the end of our regular agenda. Before we proceed with the public forum, I will take just a moment to recite the rules and procedure for public comment during city council meetings, both during public forum and for other opportunities to speak during the meeting. Please note, if you're attending by Zoom, you will need a working microphone in order to participate. And you'll need to use the raise your hand option if you'd like to be called upon to speak. When your name is called, you will see a prompt on your screen to unmute. You will need to press or click the unmute button in order to be heard. For those participating in person, if you wish to speak, you'll need to complete a sign-up form up front here. There's 2 different colored forms. They both look like this, and hand it to the city clerk here in front, please. In the interest of time, please do not repeat prior comments made by others, but simply state your support for those comments. Comments shall not be personally derogatory, nor shall they be personally directed at any individual, organization, or business. Public comment opportunities during meetings are for comments only. Do not direct any questions to the mayor or council or staff, and do not approach the dais, please. If you have any materials for council, please hand them to the clerk up front here. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak during the public forum? I do have one, but I'm just reminding you, please grab a comment card up front if you haven't filled one out and you'd like to speak. Do we have anyone online, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, we do have some folks participating online, but I'm not seeing any hands raised for public forum.
Okay, well then let's start. And we were going to start with Janine anyway. So Ms. Shepherd, please step forward. You have 3 minutes.
Council members, I just wanted to take a moment to pray for you guys before the meeting starts. So if you join me in prayer, I would love it. Lord, we come to pray for our city and our nation, this sweet land in which we live. This land belongs to you, Lord, and we want to be good stewards of all you have given us. Help us as Christians to rise up and no longer be silent. We can be passive no more in the wake of the destruction to our country. We want the glory to be yours, Lord. This land was built by men and women who love you. Let us faithfully stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before us in this country, who love this country. Lord, help us that we not be lukewarm in our lifestyles, but stand courageously and confidently in your most holy and precious word. We pray that we may acknowledge you always in our daily lives and glorify you with all that we do. Help the eyes of the people to be open to your truth. Help them seek wisdom. Lord, we ask that you pour out your spirit on this nation and help each of us discern good from evil, not as the eyes of men, but through spiritual eyes. Remove the scales from the eyes of unbelievers and pour out your love in a way that is undeniable to them. We pray for unity across the nation among all people. Jesus died for all. His sacrifice is for all sins, and he washes everyone clean. Let your love wash across the nation and calm the storm, Lord. Bring peace and revival like never seen before. Bring revival from sea to shining sea. It's easy to think our nation has passed the point of no return, but we know that with you, Lord, nothing is impossible. We thank you in advance for the work that you are doing in our lives, in our city, and in our nation. And we ask that you bless this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Appreciate that. Madam Clerk? Anyone else?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, we've got one back here.
Hi, my name is Fritz Moore. I'm a resident of Sandpoint. Maybe you've heard of me, maybe you've seen me. A couple of things I'd like to address just simply in this city. A few terms that are being bandied about that I hear that I'd like to just sort of make clear that I'm getting from residents in town. One of those is public-private partnerships. I think that these things are riddled with crony capitalism, that we're looking at backroom deals. And so when I hear somebody say that I'm not going to put something out there for the public to examine, I think you might understand why the public believes that there's a lack of transparency, that there's a lack of a desire to show the public exactly what's going on. Last night at the commissioners meeting, they decided to kick the plan down the road and go ahead and okay a plan that went against our comprehensive plan, despite the fact that there was one voice, an actual constituent sitting in the room who voiced his opposition. These are frustrations that everyone in the community is having. When I hear terms like workforce housing and affordable housing and high density living, it reminds me of China. And I think it reminds a lot of people of the same. That's not the American dream. And that's not what anybody wants. So I think it behooves us to start paying attention to what the people of this community actually want and are actually asking for. because right now they feel like their voices are falling on deaf ears. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else, Madam Clerk?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We'll now proceed with the consent calendar. For the record, the total amount of bills is $711,398.31 for regular payables. Are there any items council wishes to remove from the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I did have a couple of questions about the consent calendar tonight. I'm not sure who can answer these questions. When I went through the payable billings on page 9, and I'm sure there are great answers for these. On page 9, I think it's item 752, there's a pizza co-ed softball for $216. So I didn't quite understand what that charge was.
Yep, go ahead, Kim. Thanks.
That was for our softball league championship. We replaced the expense for trophies they decided they would rather have pizza.
Edible trophies. Okay, that seems like,
Those are all through user fees that pay for those leagues.
and that's what I was wondering, if it actually came through the user fees, but it still just has to go through the payable part. Okay,
They'd
so,
rather eat it than look at it.
right, okay. And I knew that there'd be a good explanation for that, but I just thought it was a fun charge. Then I also had a question, and this is because I just don't remember. But we had, we're purchasing a forklift for, I believe it's $18,000. And I thought council had to approve those items, but I remember changing those limits. So who does that approval go through again? Is that Jennifer, or would you answer that, Jen, or who answers?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great question. $18,000 is within my approval authority within our purchasing policy.
Okay.
The forklift is for the wastewater treatment plant.
Right, I read that part.
Okay, our crews are currently offloading vehicles by hand. So the forklift is a safety measure to ensure that they can offload trucks in a safer manner.
Right.
And it's a used forklift.
Right, I did read that. So that's all good stuff. And was that budgeted for then, or does that come out of your general expenses? I don't remember seeing it specifically.
Yeah, we had savings within our operations budget. And so, yes, it's within the adopted budget. It was not a specific line item, but we have the revenue for that.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
You're
And
welcome.
then I had one more item, and this sounds like it is the second payment of 3 payments each of $5,500 for, I'm understanding it as recruiting for your new utility service director, and or maybe I'm misreading that charge. I don't remember the page that it was on, actually. Maybe Sarah could help with that. Or if Jennifer knows what that charge is.
With the dollar amount only, I'm not able to speak to that.
Right, okay.
I believe it's for recruitment through Prothman. We have 2 positions that we have listed for professional recruitment. And Prothman, who does recruitment for government agencies, is assisting with that. That is for the planning, city planner, as well as the utilities director.
Okay, and was that budgeted for also? I don't remember seeing the recruitment fees for that.
Yes, we have budget in our human resources budget.
Okay, all right, that was all I had on budget stuff. Then I had another question on just our legal services. There was some documentation when I looked at it where the dates were all sort of crossed off and new dates handwritten in for the contract. I believe it was either with the county. I don't believe it was the Lake City contract. And I'm a little bit uncomfortable with having that on the consent calendar when it seems like the the documents just don't seem very professional to be scribbled through and written in by hand. So can anybody speak to that at all? Maybe Fonda or Andy could. You can click to that actual document if you pull up online and then click on the links there and item. It's either going to be 6F or 6G.
That is our ongoing contract with the Bonner County Prosecutor for prosecution services. The prosecutor's office had prepared the contract and it had gone through the county commissioners who had signed it before it came over to the city. And we had a couple of changes on the dates. We consulted with our attorney about how to make those changes, whether we should go back and redo the document, send it back through the process of having to get back on a county commissioner agenda and crossing it off and initialing on both sides is kind of a standard process.
I
with
didn't
contracts
see
where there's-
initialing. Was there initials on it somewhere where the cross off marks were?
The initials will go through if council approves this with the mayor signing it, and we'll collect the initials at that time and then send it back to the county as a final for initial.
So that's kind of on the county that they didn't get the dates right and the
For
other pieces.
clarification, Councilwoman, and just for a clean record tonight, if you notice, the cross off is simply that the document was prepared in September, and by the time it made it through the county commissioners and here, it was October. So the only change has been to delete September and interlineate the month
I
of
think Mari
October.
Peck's name was still on that document also, so it was not even correct
Yep.
for the employee part of that. And I mean, I get it that those are maybe little things, but it seems like when we're running a city that I don't know how, you're legal, so you're the one that knows how that can come back at us, but and if it's on the county's side of it and the document was not updated and corrected, hopefully we can get that addressed so this doesn't happen again next year when it comes to us, at least with the correct employee name. I think that was all that I noticed in reviewing consent calendar and budget stuff.
And it needed to be in place by October 1, so that. was
I
the
understand why it probably went up there. I was just a little bit disappointed to see, and even if it wasn't our work as the city, the sloppy work that we have to deal with. So appreciated. Thank you very much. That's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
I would entertain a motion
Mayor?
that,
My apologies for the interruption. Mr. Moore was up speaking a moment ago. He did not understand that public forum is also the time to speak on items on the consent calendar.
okay,
He wanted to speak on a couple of those items. He spoke previously for about a minute and a half, so he would have another minute and a half left if you would like to allow for that.
okay, yeah, that's fine. Mr. Moore, if you want to come forward. We'll give you 2 minutes.
Great, thank you, appreciate that. Multiple proposals going on here, and I apologize for not catching or being clear on what your instruction was there. So proposal 6D says that you're planning to dispose of financial records. I would like to remind the council that we are in an election year, and that election is going to take place in less than a month. And I would ask that this council not destroy any financial records prior to the seating of a new council membership, which would be in January of 2022. The Vessel Act grant application, this is yet another example of federal welfare and a bad idea. We're giving things away for free when people who are using these facilities should be paying to use them, as I did to dump my RV everywhere across the country. The resolution for the Bonner County prosecutor is a conflict of interest between the county and the city and makes it difficult on that prosecutor. So that's something that should be looked at more closely. And then lastly, the Parks and Planning Projects, again, is a federal welfare program through the lot tax. The lot tax is actually a 16% increase in taxation on local residences, or residents, excuse me, that will dig into the pocketbooks both on the left and the right. The feds are going to print out of nowhere $3.5 trillion in infrastructure funds that are backed by nothing. What Idaho State, the city of Sandpoint, the county of Bonner need to stop looking to federal welfare to support themselves and develop initiatives that will diversify our economy instead of giving away our industrial land to high-profile developers.
Mr.
Thank you.
Mayor, that is 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Spurrow,
Yes.
Councilwoman McAllister,
Yes.
Councilman Darling,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rule,
Yes.
Councilman Groot,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next, we have a public hearing on the Boyer Meadows subdivision preliminary plat. This is a decision regarding the proposed Madison Meadows subdivision. Atlas Development LLC is seeking preliminary approval of a proposed subdivision on 10 buildable lots located on 2 parcels, RPS 36860000030A and RPS 36860000040A, totaling approximately 1.79 acres, bounded by private property to the north, Madison Avenue West, private property to the south, and private property to the east, legally described as lots 3 and 4 of Alexa's addition. During the September 7, 2021 meeting, the Sandpoint Planning and Zoning Commission voted to recommend approval with conditions. A notice of public hearing was published in the Bonner County Daily Bee on September 14, 2021. The order and procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. 1, explanation of the subject of the public hearing by city staff. 2, presentation by applicant. Please note that any questions should be addressed to the applicant at that time. 3, opening of the public hearing, at which time the public may provide testimony. Questions should be asked of those testifying at that time. The order for those providing testimony will be as follows. First, those in favor. Second, those neutral. And third, those opposed. Applicant's rebuttal testimony will be next, at which time the final questions may be asked of the applicant. Please note that if new facts are elicited during rebuttal, the public will be given an opportunity to comment on any new facts. So we really want to try to get our questioning done in the initial interview of the applicant. Then we will close the public hearing, and then council will deliberate. No new information may be provided after the hearing has been closed, with correct questions directed only to city staff during deliberation. Before we proceed any further, I'd like to ask for confirmation from each counselor, please, that you've had no ex parte contact or conflict of interest as pertains to this request.
No.
No.
Okay. Interim City Planner Darren Fluke will provide a presentation for us and answer any questions council may have. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Good evening. At the risk of stating the obvious, I am not Tess Cooper, Senior Planner. She is moving to Sandpoint this evening, and I'm sure we're all excited to see her arrive. Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's dive in. The mayor did a great job of going through the particulars of this application, but let's move through our presentation here. So the council will recall that when we are reviewing a subdivision, also known as a preliminary plat, that basically we are working at the intersection of the comprehensive plan, the zoning and subdivision ordinances, as well as the transportation plan and other plans that have been adopted within the comprehensive plan. This evening, you are considering a preliminary plat, as was stated by the mayor. This evening, we'll be looking for general compliance with applicable zoning and subdivision regulations, as well as the provisions of the Sandpoint comprehensive plan. If tonight the council votes to approve this preliminary plat, then the applicant will go away and build a subdivision, and we'll come back in front of this body with a final plat for your signature, at which point they would be able to then sell lots. As stated by the mayor, the Planning and Zoning Commission considered this application on September 7th, and they did vote to recommend approval with certain conditions of approval. The preliminary plat looks like this. As the mayor mentioned, the plat exists on a 1.79 acre parcel, technically 2 parcels, with 10 buildable lots served off of Madison Avenue entirely by a single local street that will be built by the developer. I'm sure the council is noting that the comprehensive plan does generally require that if we have a dead-end cul-de-sac street, that there should be a pedestrian pathway connecting to adjoining properties. As we'll see in a moment, when we look at a larger view, we don't really have that opportunity this evening. Given the development that's happened around this project already, there really is nowhere for a pathway to go and would be a dead-end pathway to nowhere. The lot sizes do range in this subdivision from a minimum of 5,000 square feet up to about 7,900 square feet. And we are operating within the residential multifamily zone, or RM. The property is located here in the western side of the city, just north of, as you'll see, north of Cedar Street and on the east side of Madison here. The property is designated by the comprehensive plan as context area 3, which is a higher density designation and is best represented by the RM zoning designation, which in fact is the zoning designation on the property. That allows for lots as small as 5,000 square feet. It would also allow for a range of multifamily type products. In this case, that is not before you. You're simply considering a single family residential subdivision within the RM zone. As was noted in the staff report, we've gone through a review of the requirements of Title 9 and 10 of the Sandpoint City Code, that is the zoning ordinance specifically and the subdivision ordinance, and the subdivision as proposed and as conditioned would comply with all of those regulations in the zoning ordinance. Here you see a copy of the preliminary plat as submitted by the applicant. Again, 10 buildable lots served by a single cul-de-sac road. Storm drain is anticipated or is designed to be accommodated by this tract A here in the southwest portion of the project. And if you could read those contours, you'd see the land generally slopes down in that direction toward this corner of the property, and it will collect and treat the stormwater there on site in accordance with the Sandpoint storm drain ordinance. The staff report does give you a complete list of conditions on pages 16, 17, and 18. And they're rather pro forma. There was nothing too extraordinary about the project or the conditions that have been required. All of the lots will achieve a minimum lot area of at least 5,000 square feet with a 60-foot right-of-way being provided. And the homeowners association will maintain the stormwater swales as designed. And I should have noted for the council that one of the features of this subdivision is a proposed flagpole lot, as you see here in the northeast corner of the project. And that simply means that you have a reduced amount of frontage here on the new local street served by a driveway and then a buildable portion of the lot. The code does specify that those sorts of lots do come in front of the council for consideration. And this project would have been in front of you with or without that. And there's nothing very extraordinary about that lot. So as the mayor mentioned tonight, now that you've received the staff report, you'll hear from the applicant and then open the public hearing and take public testimony and then hear from the applicant again. If you had any questions, I would be more than happy to take those now.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fluke, any questions from council? Okay, it looks like we're all clear. Okay, I would invite the applicant to come forward, and is the applicant here? Okay, thank you, please.
Hi, my name is Anthony Bowerly. I work with Veritas. We are representing the applicant Atlas Development, and we are the planner for the project team. Thank you, council members and mayor, for considering this case. Also, thank you, Darren, for the presentation. That was very thorough. And to keep this brief, I don't want to go through the same exact thing that he said because it was, again, very thorough and there's no point repeating the information. So it has been the project team's original intent to follow both the regulating and guiding documents as closely as possible. Those documents to include the comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance, the MTMP, and the UATP. Those are both transportation plans. Throughout the initial design of this, stormwater has known to be a large focused and major topic of discussion through the design and coordination with the city. The civil engineer has spoken extensively with the city engineer in forming a good solid plan to convey stormwater effectively to best suit the site and address the concerns that the surrounding area and the city has for stormwater. During construction, typical BMPs that are included in the Sandpoint ordinances will be installed, and additionally a SWIP and CGP could be necessary through DEQ. In regards to construction BMPs, if there are any questions or concerns before or during construction, we would implore you to reach out to Veritas and you can contact me directly and we can go through those and address any concerns. Typically, those are inspected frequently and we are planning to do so. And lastly, we have reviewed all the draft conditions in the staff report and don't have any issues or concerns with those. So like I said, I wanted to keep it brief and thank you again for listening to considering Madison Meadows. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have the best that I can.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Bowerly. Any questions from council?
Actually, maybe just a statement, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Again, good job at the planning and zoning meeting. I thought it was
Mhm.
good and clear. And I think you had a counterpart that maybe might have been here also that contributed to that conversation. It was helpful. And again, I think this is a good application of infill in these kind of unique spaces that we have within our city. And I think that you guys have done a good job. There were some criticisms of the previous development with the stormwater, so I appreciate you addressing that. And then dust mitigation. There's quite a few lots that don't have yards yet, and I think that was some of the challenges of that other neighborhood. So I'm glad that you listened and are learning from that. And I would just like to understand if these are going to be 1-story, 2-story homes. I know that do you have any idea?
I do not, one way or the other. I don't believe any building structure plans have been designed yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or? No? All right, thank you. Appreciate that, Mr. Bowerly. All right, we'll now proceed with the public hearing. Please note for the record, any written comment submitted prior to agenda posting was included with the meeting packet. Any written comment received after agenda posting but prior to the meeting was forwarded and provided to council. The public hearing is for comments only. Do not address any questions to the council or to city staff. If councilors have questions for the person testifying, they should ask those questions at the time of their testimony. For those in attendance here in the chambers, if you'd like to speak, you'll need to complete a sign-up form again at the near the door back there and hand it to the city clerk up front. Please state on your form whether you wish to speak in favor, are neutral, or are opposed to the application. Do not approach the dais. If you have any written materials for the council, please hand those to the city clerk. For those participating on Zoom, please note you'll need a working microphone and your phone or computer to speak. When your name is called, you will see a prompt on your screen asking whether you would like to unmute. Then you'll need to unmute yourself in order to be heard. The clerk will now lower all hands on Zoom in order to take testimony in the order previously stated. If you wish to speak in favor, are neutral, or are in opposition, I will make a call for each, then you may raise your hand at that time. So we'll start with remote. Is there anyone participating remotely who would like to speak in favor?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there anyone participating here who would like to speak in favor? Okay, I assume you've received no cards.
We have, Mr. Mayor, I believe it is in opposition.
Okay. Is there anyone participating who would like to speak neutral to the application? Neutral, okay. If you'd like to come forward, you may.
So I went and walked, I'm Fritz Moore again, in case you forgot, which you probably didn't. I went and walked the neighborhood and knocked on everybody's door that is surrounding this lot to ask them what they wanted. They don't even know what's going on. That's a big problem. So I explained it to them. But I also noticed in the breakdown that there were multiple issues with this that are not meeting the plan. That's according to staff, city staff. So I think that in order to move forward with this, not that it's necessarily a bad plan, but it will change the character of the neighborhood because it's a cul-de-sac, right? And that's not the Sandpoint way. So I think the neighborhood needs to understand fully what's happening. And I don't feel as though they feel that that has been transparent enough and open enough. I know that we do the basic listings, but it helps to go out and talk to them individually and find out what's going on. There were several that were opposed to it, but most of them were just kind of unfamiliar of what the development would be. So again, if it's already saying that in the plan, it's not fitting into the plan, the main plan, our, of course, I'm blanking on the actual name of it right now. The complex plan. We have all these great names for it, don't we? Multimodal transportation plan. Anyway, just a little more transparency about what's happening. I think they feel, again, like developers are getting kind of carte blanche and that the residents are getting pushed aside to give developers what they want rather than what the city actually needs. So that's the voice of the people, not just me, just a representative. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Anyone else who would like to speak neutral to the application? Okay. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? We'll start first with those participating remotely.
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there anyone here present that would like to speak in opposition to the application? All right, seeing none. Mr. Bowerly, I assume you don't want to rebut? Or perhaps you do. I'll give you the opportunity if you, okay. Okay. Does council have any additional questions? Great. At this point, I will now close the public hearing and council will deliberate. No new information may be provided and questions may be directed only to city staff during deliberation. The staff report includes suggested motions if you're wondering where to go. So I'm going to volunteer here. I would entertain a motion to approve the application. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Councilman Grote, would you mind stating, or would you like me to state the
If I
motion?
could simply say, approve with conditions A through U. Unless you want to read the whole thing, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Let's keep this legit, shall we? I move, Councilman Grote moves that the Sandpoint City Council, after consideration of the criteria and relevant standards of Idaho Code and Sandpoint City Code, approve the request by Atlas Development LLC for the proposed Madison Meadows 10-lot subdivision located at 412 and 424 Madison Avenue, parcel ID numbers RPS 368-600-00040A and RPS 368-600-00030A. Bounded by private property to the north, east, and south, and Madison Avenue to the west, subject to the following conditions 1 through 3. Based on evidence, records, and testimony, the reasons for approving this request are: staff has followed the notice procedures applicable to subdivisions contained in Sandpoint City Code, Title 9, Chapter 9, And based on information presented at the hearing and placement of limitations through conditions, the application is in compliance with the subdivision and zoning requirements in Sandpoint City Code per following jurisdictions. And the proposed subdivision is consistent with the overall planning goals and objectives outlined in the comprehensive. So, is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Darren, maybe you can guide me with any of the conditions of the path. Did I hear you correctly saying there was no room for a path there in the subdivision?
Mr. Mayor and council member, that is what I said. And as you can see here on the GIS map, it is a difficult layout for this particular piece of property. There just really aren't a lot of options, and any other sort of layout that would not use a cul-de-sac would have to use some other type of approved fire turnaround to access the back portion of the lot, or you'd simply have a number of lots fronting off of Madison that were extremely deep and really not very marketable. And so, as you can see, previous land use decisions allowed development that didn't include any pathways, and there'd just simply be nowhere for a pathway to go in this instance.
I appreciate that. So which condition was that? I might have missed that.
There is not a condition specifically on the pathway, since we did not require one because it didn't fit the site.
Just want to double check before we voted. Thank you.
And I do want to clarify, I misspoke in that motion. It's conditions A through U in section 6 of the staff report provided, not conditions 1 through 3.
And Mr. Mayor, did we
Yeah.
have a second to your motion?
There was, yeah. Was it you?
It's me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any further discussion? This
Mr.
will-
Mayor,
Yeah.
I had a comment. In this, Darren, would you mind pulling up the comp plan map again, please? The overlay?
Bear with me. Can you see that?
Yes, so I just want to make a statement. You lost it.
We're back.
There you go. There's a piece in context area 3, talks about smaller lot sizes, smaller setbacks, inclusion of attached and detached multifamily units. So context area 3 quite often speaks specifically to multifamily units, and the staff analysis says the proposed residential single-family development is consistent with the land use patterns and in accordance with the goals and policies of Sandpoint Comprehensive Plan. And I would just like to state that I do not agree. I think that the comprehensive plan was put together in hopes that we would have more multifamily residents that would occur. Although, because the way our code is written, this is of course legal and appropriate, and thank you, well designed in that manner. But again, I'm disappointed that we aren't adhering a little bit closer to what the wishes of the citizens were in the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Appreciate those comments. Any further discussion? This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Groot,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sherman,
Yes.
Councilwoman McAllister,
Yes.
Councilman Darling,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rule,
No.
Councilman Espero.
Yes.
Motion passes. The final item on the agenda this evening is a Parks Planning and Projects update. Planning and design has kicked off this fall for parks projects, several of which are identified in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Parks Planning and Development Manager Maeve Nevins Lavtar. Did I say your last name right?
Yes, that's close.
Can you say it for me, please?
Yes, my last name is Nevins Louter. The V is a U.
Oh, it's a U. Okay. Okay. Is here to provide information on opportunities to get involved and which projects will be scheduled for construction in 2022. Thank you, Maeve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. As you know, I've been brought on to kick off the planning and development design phase of our master plan. And we are starting that off with walking tours. Can you hear that okay? Sorry, we're feedbacking. We're going to be doing a series of walking tours. It's a great time of year to get outside, and we're following the weather trends right now. And we have a couple really warm days coming up. So tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., we're going to meet down at the waterfront, the downtown waterfront, to talk about the kickoff of that project. On Friday, I will be over at Travers Centennial Sports Complex at noon. And then coming up on the 12th, I'll be there again next Tuesday at 5 p.m. for those people that want to come after work. And then October 21st from 5:30 to 8 p.m. there's going to be an open format open house workshop here at council chambers where everyone's invited to learn about all the different projects that I'll be kicking off, as well as the sidewalk projects that are the highest priority. This is a graphic that just gives you a friendly overview of each of the areas that we're focusing on initially and are also part of the lot 1% sales tax. So if the lot tax is approved, then that funding would be added to the budget for each of these projects. These are the concept plans that were identified and approved in the Park Master Plan last year in 2020. And then the orange lines show the sidewalks that are the highest priority of the city for if the funding is approved through the lot tax. So everyone is invited to come to our workshops, and we have staff from the Parks team and staff from the IDS team. And it's just a really great way for us to collect feedback and have those really great conversations and learn some more. So thank you. And you can find out more. We're going to continue to do updates on our website, which is our sandpointidaho.gov website. So stay tuned for more. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe I have a question. Will there be another one after the October 21st, or will that be the last one?
Right now, we anticipate that there probably will be more. We're literally watching the weather and trying to schedule the walking ones around that. So it's sort of a 2-week window right now that we're planning out. The one that is going to be on the 21st is specifically targeted to be more of a workshop here. And it's going to be one of the first ones that we will have indoors. So we're just playing it by ear. Spacing appropriate to COVID will be part of how we function the flow. And yeah, there's going to be other workshops too, where I will actually be going to different groups such as the senior center and stuff like that, and probably some schools. So literally it's a moving target. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All
Any
right, thank
questions
you.
from council?
Mayor?
Yeah.
Are there any other plans for outreach besides the workshops and the ability for people to check in online? Like I believe when we were considering the Memorial Field lot tax, we had some mailers that went out to the community because there's people that just can't physically attend workshops or they're not internet savvy. And I think that we'd be missing an opportunity to inform the rest of our city population that this is an opportunity that they should be aware of and they can decide if they want to support or not. So I just wanted to know if we have any other means of reaching out.
Yes, Councilwoman, thank you so much for your feedback on that and the idea for the mailers. All of that will be taken into account as we move forward and dive down into the individual projects. Each one actually has about 3 or 4 mini projects embedded in them, such as the Travers Sports Complex has a skateboard park, and I was at a skate event 2 weeks ago and met with the skate group, and then I was there all day, so I was able to capture feedback from the seniors who live across the street who are doing their morning walks, as well as neighbors who are just riding by and just driving along the street. And so because we are going from the concept level of a giant master plan and it's so comprehensive, and distilling it down. And this outreach plan is in development. So absolutely, as we refine the plans and refine the process, and also get closer to the fall where we're navigating how we have public outreach, there will be more opportunities. It's going to be dynamic, is how I'd say. This one was one of those where I'm just trying to capture the good weather and get people outside, as well as become familiar with the community, because as you know, I'm pretty new here still.
Sure.
So,
I would just suggest, I really appreciate, staff trying to capture all of the feedback to really drill down and be as specific as possible, because I know there's a lot of desire to know, like, what exactly am I going to be voting for? But I would caution against waiting too long in search of that specificity. I think many people are aware in the community that we're thinking about, that we've put this on the ballot. And there's a lot of thoughts about that. But what I've learned over the years is that a lot of people have no idea, they haven't heard of it. And if we wait too long and we don't put something out there just in general saying, this is what we'd like you to consider on the ballot, even without specific plans for each concept, I'm concerned that we won't get the support that we need. So if there's an opportunity to produce more broad-based outreach in a written format that can be delivered to our city residents, I would really encourage that.
thank you.
And I would put that question to staff. Thank you for that comment, Counselor. I appreciate that. We often do that. We will put out notices with utility billings, informing the public of various issues. Is that something that we could feasibly do towards the second half of this month in our through our utility billing? And it's simply an informational sheet that explains that what the lot is, that it will be on the ballot for vote on November 2nd.
We can certainly look at including a flyer both in the utility billing as well as doing a mailing as council president has suggested as well.
I would like to add one thing to that. We do have a database of nearly 5,000 recreation users that they are going to be getting notification. So yeah, we're just, it's in flux. Very dynamic.
And that's through email, I presume. Okay. Anything else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I just would like to thank you for spending your time out there all day and trying to work on getting a bunch of different opinions. So thank you for that. And then just out of a curiosity, the red marks for the sidewalks, I'm trying to make out which sidewalks those might be. And I know you're new here, so I should probably be better at it. Do you have a list of what the red marks are handy, or is that something we can?
Yes, Councilwoman, there is a list. I would have to defer to Amanda Wilson for the exact list. Oh, great.
She snuck up. Okay. And we don't have to spend a lot of time on Amanda. I just think since it's in front of the public right now, if you could just rattle them off really quickly, because I think it's something that's really important to our citizenry.
You hear me?
Thank you. That's where I hear my voice. Starting on the south end of town, adjacent to War Memorial Field, those red lines, you're looking at Lavina, as well as Florence. So sections in that location have existing sidewalk for majority of those routes in the Washington Elementary and leading to War Memorial Field, but much of it is in really bad condition, and there are some gaps. So then working our way to the east, that line over by the blue arrows, that is First Avenue. There is sidewalk along the entire length of both sides, but again, it's in one of our older areas of town. It's a really common walking area, and they need to be replaced pretty much the entire length on both sides. As we go from Pine Street Park directly to the north, up towards what's labeled as Lighthouse Foods, that is Ella Avenue. Majority of Ella Avenue, by and large, does not have any sidewalk at all in that section. The intent at this point is to put it on the west side of Ella Avenue, but as we dive into the details with engineering, we'll see if that still makes sense. There's really only a few hundred feet on that street currently. And then in close proximity to Pine Street Park as well, that east-west route is Oak Street. There are a number of gaps along that route, which is also an Explore Sandpoint route, as is Ella. So fixing bad sidewalk and filling in the gaps. And then there at the senior center, that is Main Street.
Yep, I got that one. 'cause it
I
was
figured you
angled.
did. There's only one angle.
Right.
And so that staff have analyzed that that would be the north side of Main Street, and that goes between Boyer Avenue and Ella. And then last, but certainly not least, we have a really, I think, unique opportunity to improve the sidewalks in the region of Larch between Boyer and 4th Avenue. Actually on both the north and the south side of that street, especially given the new health center that's going in there. We have multiple grocery stores and it's just a really busy area with bus stops. And so kind of trying to hit multiple areas of town based upon those locations.
And I do have one small suggestion, since we just redid all the Florence sidewalks recently. And now we have the Lavina sidewalk on there, and that's all right in front of the stadium and also accesses Washington Elementary. I would make a suggestion that we complete that half block along Ontario so that maybe in hopes, not that you can change behavior, we can get some of those people right next to the stadium out of the street. I think people would actually use that side of the sidewalk, especially with smaller children, if we could possibly put that half block on there in addition.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
Oh, that's a good comment.
Any other questions on the sidewalk?
All right, thank you, Amanda.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
All right, if there's no further questions or comments, does the public want to speak on this? Anyone from the public, either online or here present? Of course, Mr. Moore. Please come forward.
I just have one particular question in mind. And it is my understanding that the lot tax is simply to make these projects shovel ready, that these projects cannot be completed without federal funding. Is that incorrect?
That is incorrect.
It is incorrect. So the lot tax is not going to be used to get federal subsidies to finish these projects.
That is also incorrect.
Okay.
So so these are the funding, the lot funding, if it were approved, that money could be spent towards implementing these projects. The intent would be from the city would be to leverage that funding to get outside dollars to stretch our dollars farther.
So
that would be
PPP?
on a case by case basis. We would apply. These are competitive grants. We would apply for grants as they come up. Maybe we get some, maybe we don't.
Federal grants.
The federal, state, foundation grants, they come from a variety of places.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, with that, is there anyone else that would like to comment on this issue? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming, everyone.